Okay, let's move to our next presentation by Dipesh Kothari, who is the country head India with Expenzing. He has extensive expertise in handling various types of enterprises with proven leadership ability, with strong proponent of growth mindset based on lifelong learning, the development of capable teams. And the keep it simple and stupid philosophy. He is a spend management automation expert to both control corporate spending and reduce processing cost. Can we welcome Dipesh with big round of applause, please?
Good afternoon, everyone. Great. So the other day, I was talking to my niece. She's a 12-year-old girl. I asked her, what do you want to do in life? She said, I want to do something really cool. I was like, what's that? What does that mean? What does cool mean to you? Do you want to be a lawyer, doctor, engineer, or a CA? No. I don't want to be one of them. I want to do something different. Okay. What do you want to do? She said, I want to do something which is very cool, and I want to be a procurement professional. I was taken aback. Really? You want to be a procurement professional? Do you know what do they do? I don't know what do they do, but it would be great to spend money which is not mine. So we know the procurement function is not a glamorous one. We have been seeing challenges since morning. So my name is Dipesh Kothari. I am spend management specialist from Expenzing. We are a Gartner recognized organization. Since last 15 years, we have been offering mature yet affordable solutions in the areas of sourcing, procurement, vendor management, employee expense management. Our objective is to make procurement easy, effective, and intelligent. You know, we have been working with hundreds of CFOs, CPOs, procurement heads, wherein we have helped them to improve their processes, help them to save, and also digitize their processes. As a part of that interaction, we have learned a lot, and today I would like to share some insights which we have learned, and I really hope you like those insights and which is helpful to you and your organization. So welcome to the Procurement Superhighway. Now you must be wondering, what is procurement related to highway? I'm showing a car over here. Now think about it, whenever we want to go a long distance, we always prefer to take the highway, because we know we'll reach there faster, it is relatively safer as well, and the authorities understand it. Likewise, in business goal, in procurement goals, wherein we want to reach the end of the goal, we would like to take the highway so that we reach our goal quickly and certainty. So with that, the authorities understand the highways needs to be safe. So they have got messages in place that you need to wear your seat belt. You need to keep safe distance between vehicles. So there are cameras in place so that you don't go overboard with your speed. And you need to give appropriate signaling as well. So these kind of controls are in place to ensure that you are always safe on the highway and reaching on time. Now coming post-pandemic era, while running on the highway to reach their goals, there is a need for speed, there is need for savings, and definitely there is need for brakes. So we know there is high inflation. We have been talking about it in the morning, that the costs are going up. Definitely the inflation is there. There is a talent shortage in the market. We know the quality of the particular person coming into your organization is very high. And so the cost is also going to be very high. So you need to run the show with a lean and a tech-enabled team. There are going to be more audits and governance across the organization, especially in procurement. While you are dealing with the vendors are going to increase, and so the geographical dispersion of these vendors are also going to increase. So it's necessary to digitalize the process, not digitalize the process to ensure that they are on the platform. And importantly, we are moving from know your customer to a know your vendor as well. So the compliances have to be in place and the vendor malpractices has to stop. You might be thinking, in this year, now with the inflation going up, we are definitely not going to be that much profitable. So should we apply brakes right now? Definitely you don't need to, because you can stay in control with these 4 must-have procurement initiatives to digitize it. The very first is digitizing your entire RFPs, RFQs and RFQs. Digitizing your vendor onboarding. The third one is digitizing your vendor relationship. And finally, the procurement digitization. Imagine, if these controls are not in place, what is going to happen? Chaos. There would be accidents on the highway, there would be traffic jams on the highway, and you will not reach your business goal. In fact, even if you reach, you will reach late. And by the end of the journey, you will be frustrated. So let's get into each of these aspects, especially the first one is the digitizing of the RFX platform. Now, I was talking to an insurance company. We were trying to back their deal with a large insurance company, and they were taking too long over there. They were discussing internally, not taking decisions on that part, a typical large organization, how it happens. And one fine day, the procurement head, the planning and procurement head calls me saying, Dipesh, we need to start the RFP process immediately. We need to digitize it. I was like, thank you so much for the order, but how do we start it immediately? Because then we have to onboard you, and it takes time. There is a formality for that. You know what? I am in a soup right now. We got audited, and there were so many red flags. We are questioned on the entire process, and there are so many things that are being asked to us. How are you onboarding the vendor? How are you selecting the supplier? Is there any collusion between your team and the supplier? Such kind of questions are being asked. And I am in a very tight situation right now. So my board has asked to implement this entire solution right away so that there are no more questions on these things. So with this, what we can do is basically you need to have what does this mean in real life for a typical sourcing team? You need to publish this RFP, and as the business requirement changes, the version of that RFP also changes. So the system should basically establish that as well. Second one is publishing these RFPs. So it's important that you publish these RFPs to the right vendors. Tracking of these RFPs from the vendors coming back to your system. The queries which are coming from the vendors, you answer back to them. And these queries can go back to all vendors, even for them who have not even asked the queries. So we basically educating the suppliers as well over here. With the help of the tool, you are intelligently rating the vendor. And finally, a quick vendor decision is happening, and very important, visibility across the teams. Moving on to the next aspect, which is Procure to Pay. Now, the mature organizations release a PO to the supplier. But the question here is, are the PO issued from the central team? Are the PO issued all the time or only some of the time? Are the PO issued before the invoices come in or after the invoices come in? Is the PO approved as per the DOA? Is it within the budget, and so on and so forth? So there are so many questions coming in from an overall procurement perspective. So it's important to digitize these processes to ensure that you have got the mobile app given to the procurement team or to the users so that they can raise the purchase requisition directly from the mobile app and don't get into the system. See, this gives an ease of use and flexibility to the users. Converting this PR to PO and GRN for invoice processing. Email-based authorization processes. Since the management is always on the go, so approving through the emails is extremely important. Enforcing the rate cards. Now this is an interesting aspect wherein the procurement team is haggling and hassling with the vendors, negotiating and finalizing a rate contract for particular items and services. And when the invoices comes in, when there is a silos in the system, the processing team does not know that the rate contract is in place, and they go ahead and process the invoice which is not in sync with the rates. The vendor takes advantage of that particular aspect and gets the invoice processed. So had there been a single digitized procurement system, when the purchase requisition, purchase order, GRN, invoice are all in the same system, then enforcing the rate contract becomes extremely easy. Granular spend visibility and vendor analysis of the system is extremely important. Moving on to the next aspect, the vendor empanelment portal. Are you dealing with vendors which are not empaneled? If yes, then it's a big risk for the organization. We are moving into an era wherein from know your customers, it has now become equally important to know your vendors as well. We had actually recently signed up with a large small finance bank, and while discussing, we said that, okay, now since the deal is through, let me raise the invoice to you. And my Spock said that, Dipesh, wait, it will take some time. So I was like, why? I mean, we are almost done. Why are we waiting for it? So you know what? In our organization, it will take at least 3 weeks for you to empanel as a vendor. I was like, really? I was like, yeah. We have got so many criteria and checklists which will be given to you. And once you fill in the details, it will come to me. I will check through that thing. And then I have to follow up for the multiple levels of approval. Once these approvals are done, I have to chase the ERP guy to put the details into the ERP, and that's when you get empaneled. So 3 weeks are the minimum time I'm looking at, and we started laughing on the call. So that's how the entire process has been red taped. It has become very bureaucratic to empanel a vendor. So when we implemented the vendor empanelment solution for them, this entire process becomes very smooth, and within 1 or 2 days they were able to empanel the vendor. They send the invite to the vendors, the vendor receives an email with the login credentials. The vendor then logs into the application, they fill in the details, and it comes back for the approval. And internally, you can define the workflow, and once it is approved, the vendor gets created and pushed to the ERP. Now, once the vendor creation in ERP is completed, it gets onboarded as a vendor, and then you can raise a PO, and it also started showing in their dashboards. So this is very important to work only with empaneled vendors, because there is a huge risk for an organization. So that's why this process becomes extremely important. And likewise, the documentation with these vendors is also important, since the compliances are going to increase day by day as well. Moving on to the final aspect, which is the vendor portal. The vendor portal is a solution to a lot of problems which vendors are facing. The vendors expect transparency and visibility. They don't like when they are told that you will get your payments in 30 days and then asked to produce documents after documents, and these 30 days become 90 days. The vendors are following up. After 2 months, you say invoice is lost. I don't know where is the invoice. Please raise another invoice. And so it's important to onboard them on a digital platform wherein they can easily collaborate with the supplier team, with the procurement team, to ensure this entire collaboration is easy. They will get the entire visibility of the purchase orders which are raised on them. They get visibility of the payments and the invoice processing as well. A very important incident that came to my mind was we are working with a manufacturing company, and the procurement head, we were talking about them, and he basically mentioned this incident to me, that in one of the ways, basically there was a requirement for the raw material to be procured, and this requirement came from the production team. So he connected with the relevant vendor to supply the raw materials. They had a discussion. They said that, okay, this particular rate is finalized, and the vendor communicated that it will take approximately 3 weeks for him to deliver the products. And based on that, they raised the PO, and he said that once the PO is received, you can start working on that order. 3 weeks went by, 4 weeks went by, 5 weeks went by, and the order was not delivered. He called the vendor. The vendor said, which PO are you talking about? I did not get the PO. Said, I'd send you the email, but I have not received that email. So this is the kind of issue that happened, and now he's in a soup right now. The vendor says, if you want it right away, I will have to increase the pricing, because I'll have to deprioritize other orders and prioritize your orders. So this procurement was in a situation wherein 5 weeks had gone by, he did not have the material, another 3 weeks, and the prices have increased. So this implementing this vendor portal, they were able to basically ensure that these vendors come onto the portal, ensure the POs are acknowledged by them, they are checking the invoices, raising the ASNs and other things. So this definitely helps the procurement team, when it gives a self-service for the vendors, so processes get streamlined. Proper process for the vendor acceptance of the PO and they cannot make an excuse for it and also raise an ASN. Vendors submitting their invoices electronically into the system. The procurement team efficiency increases overall. There are no nasty surprises on the delivery schedule right from the incident just we saw. So there are no nasty surprises over there, and it removes a lot of governance and routine work for your team, and vendor becomes more accountable. Vendors love it as well. They are delighted because it helps them to have the visibility and transparency to them. Their document exchange become very easy, seamless, and it is always up to date. It prevents malpractices. The vendor may not come back and say, I have not received the PO. So this gets eliminated overall. You improve the relationships, and finally, you get a PO back in few months down the line. So with these 4 digital initiatives and overall procurement perspective, the entire procurement team can get the benefit out of it. Now, we were working with a bank, and they were basically squeezing us for the rates. A lot of negotiations were happening, and when we basically got in touch with the procurement head, he said, you know what, in this organization, procurement is the only team which is asked for an ROI. So we are always asked how much you have saved overall the quarter. On a quarter-on-quarter basis, we are asked how much we have saved. And when I go to the management and ask for an additional resource, they say, how much more ROI are you going to get it for me, more savings for me. So we are just assessed on one parameter, savings, savings, and savings. Such stringent KRAs are not even for the sales team. So when these procurement teams, when these points are digitized, the governance becomes easy by doing the right thing. Run with the lean teams, vendor become true partners over here, and eliminate frauds and wastages, and importantly, to take the procurement to the next level. And as a core ambassador of this entire spend management journey, I am ending my presentation with a savings of almost 5 minutes, 4 minutes? Yeah. So we are here to meet you and help you with your digital transformation journey. Here is my team, and we can get into a dialogue to help you understand how we have helped other organizations like you to save. Thank you so much.
Stay back, please stay back. As you finished well before time, so we will take few questions. Questions for him?
I
Yes.
know I am standing between the lunch, so...
No, sir, you're not standing between the lunch. We still have few thoughts.
Hi Dipesh, good afternoon.
Very good afternoon.
Dipesh, I have one question actually.
Yeah.
This is regarding the onboarding the vendor.
Yeah.
So like you said, normally there are 3 weeks time it takes for the company to onboard, and there are reason behind this.
Yeah.
Like there are many compliance documents which need to be collected from the vendor, and because the vendor is not educated, there are other reasons like for which there is a delay in submission. So how you're going to take care, like, or how you're going to ensure that it happens within a short duration time, and we complete the vendor onboarding in 2 or 3 days or 5 days?
So typically, when we talk about to our customers, there are so many processes and checklists and due diligence required to basically empanel the vendors. Now these are available in silos across different departments, and the approvals goes across different way. So what we do is we basically have that in a single place, all the relevant checklist to the relevant vendors. Again, here an important aspect over here is that different types of vendors may have different types of checklists. So when a vendor comes in, they refer to all the checklists and identify which checklist is referenceable to this particular vendor. So system intelligently identifies, okay, this is the type of vendor, then this checklist should come into picture. These are the documents which are required, and this is the approval it should go. So automatically this entire process intelligently identifies according to the vendor and goes for the approval, and obviously the vendor is also responsive on this thing, and that's how we basically crunch the timeline over there, ensuring the right information is captured with the right documents.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, one more quick one.
Hi Dipesh,
Hi.
good afternoon. First of all, thank you for nice presentation and agile or agility, whatever you have shown here. My question is just next to the gentleman. So how you are helping us to check the compliance document in terms of finance compliance, other compliance you are talking about?
So as I just mentioned to them as well, wherein based on the type of the vendors, there are certain compliance documents required. So these compliance documents are also mentioned as a part of the checklist. And once the documents are uploaded against the checklist, system checks, okay, this particular document has come, and only then it says green and goes ahead with the particular approval.
if I talk about one vendor has uploaded one GSTN number, so how your software and your system will check that this GSTN number is correct, whatever is provided by the vendor and supplier?
So overall, from a system perspective, taking to your example, when the GST documents get uploaded, system reads the GSTN number from the document. We have an integration with the GSTN portal. So it checks with that, it comes back with the relevant information, stores the database, and goes into the system. So that's how the checking
Is there any possibility that if that particular vendor is default into GSTN, and a lot of cases, my colleague might be facing this. So how your system can identify and help us?
So in case the GSTN is not valid, it will come back and say this is not a valid GSTN, and then it stops over there. You can send a notification back to the vendor saying that your GSTN is not valid. Maybe you can upload another document which is a valid GSTN. So this is how it is basically.
If any particular vendor and supplier did not file the return of GSTN or any PF, ESIC, other labor compliances, how your system will check?
So right now not 100% all the integrations are there, but we have the NSDL integration, we have the GSTN integration, we have the MSME checking of integration in case if it is an MSME. So likewise, there are certain integrations in place to check the relevant compliances of these vendors. And as and when we go ahead, more compliances are coming in. We are basically integrating with the relevant source to understand how it is capable on that.
Thank you, thank you. Still stay back. Can I request 𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗵𝗺 sir to hand over the memento, please?
Standing between the lines, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.